Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's always good to be here, and of course, thank you so much for your time. Now, obviously, whenever you see my face, and obviously the first of my friend here, you know for sure that we've got a lot of bone to chew. We have got a lot of issues to look at. Zambia stormed the semi-finals of this year's COSAFA Senior Challenge after beating Namibia in a penalty shootout for 3. Obviously, the hero of the day was Tostan Sabata, who managed to serve 2 penalties. Now, we are in the semi-finals, and of course, we know exactly who we are going to be playing with. We are going to be playing against Madagascar, and of course, in the other semi-finals, it will be Zimbabwe taking on Lesotho. Now, how easy or possibly tough will the game involving Madagascar will be for Zambia? The last time that the two teams met was 17 years ago. It's been a long time, really. So after 17 years, we've met once again. So now, what will happen afterwards? Obviously, it's a multi-million question that we'll have to get answers to, especially as we look at what happened in the quarterfinals when we played Namibia, and of course what happened when obviously Madagascar also were playing in the semi-finals as they eliminated South Africa as well. Welcome to Around Sports, and of course on top of that we also have another interesting game that will be played this Wednesday, and of course it will involve Zambia, the female team, taking on Zimbabwe, and of course the Zimbabwean guys looking quite strong. Introducing my soccer analyst for today, it's good to have you today. Now, obviously, we've got quite a lot to look at, and of course, quite a number of issues to look at. But before we get to obviously football, I would love us to start on a Lafarge marathon obviously event that was held just a week ago, where we had athletes from Kenya and of course athletes from Zambia here who came through as well. Now obviously it was good, really. This was their 5th edition, but we had an incident that took place where we had a reported accident. Just your quick comment.
Well, these marathons, I think they need to be encouraged. They need to be enhanced. They need to be supported, so that we see more of athletes who could come on board and be able to to participate in long distance running. We in Africa we have been having on Kenya, Uganda, and Ethiopia, Somalia, few from Nigeria who have now joined the game at the long distance running, but we know more of Nigeria in the short distance running, and even Zambia we take part in short distance events, but at the marathon level, I think Lafarge needs to be supported. They need to make sure ZA needs to encourage Lafarge to make sure that they host this event year in, year out. Remember that in such events, that's where ZA finds the suitable athletes, the suitable participants in these events. Talking about the incident, it's sad. We whenever you hear such, especially in sports is meant to be a safe sport, to be a safe activity, that an activity that enhance benefits being healthy, as well as either there are awards, financial awards to be given to an athlete, but where incidents are reported, it's not something that you'd want to see even in the near future, even in the next event, and hopefully that they will make sure that such incidents, as we go forward, does not show its face in the world of sports.
When you look at what social media had reported on that particular incident that happened along Church Road, where a Kenyan athlete was involved in a minor accident but managed to pick herself up, ran the race up to the final end, eventually managed to win the race, even after that glitch, receiving 20,000 kwacha. Now, when you look at the way the social media has portrayed it, it was portrayed in such a way that it was portrayed like it was quite a very, very, big incident itself. I had an opportunity of having a chat with Mr. Elias Pondela, who is Zambia Amateur Athletics Association president, who made quite a lot of clarifications when it comes to really what happened, and of course the insinuations that has been going on social media, and one or two things. And of course, one of the things that he did mention was the fact that the rumor that Kenya had threatened that they will no longer be sending their athletes to come to Zambia was actually false, because the two associations are in talks, and of course they are definitely in mutual they still enjoy the same mutual friendship as of before. But one thing that he also admitted was the fact that there were a little minor details that were actually ignored in the whole arrangement of this particular marathon. And of course, here is the interview.
More people than the past few years. You remember it was 5th edition. It has grown from the 2,000 that we had last year to 2,520 this year, attracting also athletes from Kenya, and many of them won. And we are a family from Texas, America, who are running their 111 marathon, throughout the globe. It was an incredibly successful event.
Interesting. How is the response from the Zambian community for this year one as compared to last year?
Extremely appreciative of what we did. The growth of the event, including just the management of the event, nobody complained about the process. The process of registration and payment and aligning the numbers to those that paid, there was no problem. In terms of the electronic timing system, everything was good. The 42.195 kilometer, which is the marathon itself that we are promoting, incident free. 21 kilometer, incident free. 5 kilometer, incident free. We have a complaint on 10 kilometers where, the leading sweeper vehicle from the police misguided some people who had to cover, instead of 10, covered an extra 3.7 kilometers, and that we sincerely regret. I don't know why it happened that way, but 90% of the 10-kilometer runners had it well, and that 10% that was misled by that leading motor vehicle created some bit of dislocation. We also had a report of a young lady from Kenya that participated in 42, that won the marathon in women, that she was hit by the car. Upon interviewing and also investigation, it was very clear that she fell on her own, and motorist was trying to lift her, and she said she could continue. And can you imagine, if you are hit by a car, as the report was, how can you run 42 and still be number one? It was a little more exaggerated by our own friends from running clubs. We know which individuals have been orchestrating this, and it was orchestrated beyond what was supposed to be reported. And the nation may wish to know through this channel that the same young lady came to us and informed us that she actually fell and was being instigated to make it such a big issue. And also we have reports from the police that was on spot that there was no recorded accident of anyone that was hit. So really, when you say what's the relationship between us and Kenya, it's cordial. We've spoken to our colleagues there, and there's nothing negative that has been publicized in terms of that marathon, apart from ourselves here, from known people that are playing with the social media to discredit an event that is maturing. This is the 5th edition. We started in 2012. I and Chungu from Lafarge and Lafarge agreed that we could create a Lusaka marathon called Lafarge, Pamvu. And we've been growing it systematically. And so some people have said we are incompetent. I do not agree that we are incompetent, because we are the founders of both the Intercompany and together with the Lafarge, the marathon itself. And if we have successfully run the intercompany, which has attracted sponsorship and partnership from Lafarge, surely we possess some, the competence in running events. And what happened there also, which we have written to the police, is that I think that when we ask for full road closure, that must be granted, because our motorists here are still learning that a marathon is an activity that is both economic, it also responds to tourism, and it also is healthy generating, and also we are raising funds for various purposes, like the charities that Lafarge supports, and of course ourselves as ZA, to upgrade our profiling so that we can continue to make our own money to run athletics in the country.
How true is it that the Kenyan Athletes Association had threatened never to send Kenyan athletes anymore to Zambia due to that purported accident?
It is untrue. That is totally untrue. I'm president of athletics, and our colleagues in Kenya, we talk to each other, and I think this is what we must guard against as Zambians. I think if you have thieves or you have certain, discontent within Pondela, speak to me. And also, if you notice there are certain things that we need to modify in order to create this event into a good event, again, put your concerns into, in writing, so that together we begin to grow. I think that the kind of development we are seeing in this country, jealously wanting to oust the people that are creating creativity and innovation in the country, particularly in the world of sport, bringing innovative methodologies of raising money, I think it's not the best thing. If you have disagreements with the individual people, I think let's resolve them there than plaster issues in a manner that antagonizes the organization, like you're saying, Athletics Association in Kenya and Zambia. That is not true. It is totally untrue. This is a creation in the social media of known people that some of them we've talked to them. And so I hope that they can stop that. In fact, you may wish to know that the family that came here, the couple that have run 111, not these small marathons people are running, they come back to us and say, we need to link you to the network of marathon, because they can't believe that a marathon which has been only in existence for 5 years can run in the manner that we did. So we've received commendation. We've also received recommendation, by the way, from those who ran 10 kilometers. In fact, there was conflict. Some said, why should other people complain? But the fact is that there was a mistake. There was an error that emanated from within the people that we have assigned, the police and the marshals, to deal with that particular component. And so we admit that something was wrong. And but to just discredit the event on account of one or two things, I think, let's be fair.
All right, so that was Mr. Elias Mpondela, who is the Zambia Amateur Athletics Association president, trying to make a number of clarifications when it comes to some of the social media reports in relation to the event, and of course the purported accident and so on and so forth. One thing for sure, he says there wasn't an accident. What was there is it was just a mix-up where the athlete was just misjudged and hit into the car. But the athlete herself did point out the fact that I wasn't hit.
Well, these are some of the challenges of these minor sports, so to say. You always have incidents where, in terms of planning, it's not always up to to standard, up to the date, because they always leave small minor details that are most critical to the event. But at the end of the day, I think we people who use social media, we need to use it to the benefits of the masses. At the end of the day, yes, we can express our feelings about it, but at the end of the day, upon expressing your feelings, you also need to realize that the people you are criticizing or you are speaking against, they are also human, just like you. They also have the same feeling that you're feeling at that particular moment. They do possess that feeling. That at the end of the day, you need to, to have a heart of advising each other. We need to find a way in which we can, advise each other, so that in the near future we don't have, such, incidents happening. And at the end of the day, we all need to, come on board and see how we can, support each other and how we can contribute to the development of the sports. Thank God, that the athlete managed even to win the events at the end at the end of the day, because I'm imagining, what if after that incident, the athlete losing the marathon, what would have happened? What would we have been saying right now?
It would have been a different
story, of course, because right now, even after the athlete managed to win, we are even suggesting that Kenya will no longer send their envoys, their athletes to such marathon anymore. But it's good that the president himself could clear all these rumors and be able to give us the up to date information in terms of his office and the office on the other end, talking about Kenya. They are still able to communicate. They are able to communicate. I'm sure they all they managed to clear this incidents. They managed to give each other information that would have consult each other, especially on the Kenyan side. And even the Kenyan side, they managed to talk to the athlete and be able to find out the well-being. How is the athlete doing? Was he had or not? Or what is the way forward? Do we need to take that athlete to the hospital or not? So I think, and it's good that even the athlete managed to speak or to say, okay, I wasn't hurt. It's sad that even when you are walking, Nelson, right now you go outside, go by the street, you start walking. How many people have you seen bumps into a bicycle, bumps into a car? At the end of the day, the one riding that transportation is judged to be the one who is wrong, even when the pedestrian was the one who was wrong. I think we need to, to have, especially where accidents are concerned, we need to have a clear, perception. We need to judge, to look at both angles and be able to, to give a proper guidance.
Mr. Alassane Ntinda did also indicate the fact that, going forward, when an application has been filed in with the Road Transport and Safety Agency, and of course other agencies, and of course other law enforcers, at least, and of course the request has been made to say, oh, we'll be using this road. We are asking if at all you could provide enough enough control and stuff like that. It should be like that to avoid future accidents and so on and so forth. He did indicate that there was a slow reaction when it comes to the police officers controlling traffic at some point, which also caused a bit of some confusion when athletes were actually running. So going forward, obviously, as we're using these main roads, hopefully that law enforcers and of course other agencies that have been given the mandate to look at the safety of the public will definitely do their work. But otherwise, I think the winter event was quite successful. More participants came on board, and of course more people as well, attracting even athletes from the United States of America. So it was quite, for me, I think it was quite successful, as indicated by the president. We take a break. When we come back, want to look at some of the games that will be played this Wednesday. Remember, we've got Zambia taking on Madagascar, and of course Zambia, the Shipolopolo team, taking on Zimbabwe as well in the road to Ghana 2018 Africa Cup of Nations. So those are quite major events that we're going to be witnessing this Wednesday. For now, we pay some bills. We'll be back shortly.
I am ready to get married now.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Unpack a show for everyone in the family on GoTV Plus and GoTV Max. Keep it in the clan no matter where you are and fresh off the boat on Fox Live.
Oh, my head. Oh, what's going on?
Learn all the perks of being the working wife on Brides with Benefits on Z World.
How can we allow Pael to get married to such a boy?
We're catching villains and sticking together. Watch the Thundermans use their powers for good on Nickelodeon.
I love having friends with superpowers.
It's the light-hearted laughs with your loved ones you deserve with the Johnsons on Africa Magic Family. Tune in to GoTV for a family affair you don't want to miss. We are a family zone. GoTV. Live it, love it.
Hi, God. Hello, beautiful people. Very best of entertainment, fun, excitement, and everything LSK.
Everybody who's in Zambia, you're Zambian too, you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, we're just so happy.
All right, so welcome back. Now, Shipolopolo ladies will be taking on Zimbabwe this Wednesday in the road to Ghana 2018 Africa Cup of Nations. Agrips, I think this is an issue that we've spoken about for the last couple of days, and now the day is here. They'll be taking on Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is already in the country. When you look at the Zimbabwean ladies, well, they look quite ready for this particular game. Do you think they'll be able to give Zambia a tough run to their money?
They are comfortable, looking at what they have been, recording against the Zambian ladies. You look at, I was looking at, the images that were posted, on social media after they arrived. They look confident, they are confident even when one wouldn't imagine that they came by bus, but by road, so to say. But the confidence levels are high, and it's what they need at the end of the day, because when you are playing away, you need to be in the best mood you can ever have, so that as you are playing away, you are able to to produce a positive result and be able to defend it when you get back home. And the date is set. It's Wednesday. Tomorrow.
Do you think the fact that they came by bus, do you think that will affect their performance?
In sports, yeah, it has to. You're looking at the traveling hours. The traveling hours and the recovery process is what usually affects the performance of a sportsman in any given sport. You travel the whole day, and you especially that they arrived somewhere 16, so they had time to 15, 16. They had that time to recover, and today they are in the recovery process, doing the right trainings, and the game is tomorrow. So you are looking at the process, the structure of recovering. Is it adequate? Is it suitable? Is it helpful enough for them? Are they going to cope from that process and be able to compete at the end of the day? I think that's where the challenges always come from. When you are seated for a long period of time, and if you are in a bigger assignment like this one, you always tend to have, whether they are by road, but what they always call jet lags. we hope that it won't be an issue tomorrow with them.
All right, so definitely the only stumbling block that we have between us and Ghana 2018 Africa Cup of Nations in Zimbabwe is actually Zimbabwe. So now Zambia will be taking on Zimbabwe this Wednesday, and 4 days later, over the weekend, they'll be traveling to Zimbabwe as well by bus, so that they can go and defend whatsoever they're going to get here and stuff like that. Now, so Zambia in the next 4 days will be feeling exactly how Zimbabwe is feeling as we speak.
Right, exactly.
Obviously, they are tired of the long trip, the long drive they had to endure, and Zambia will be also experiencing the same. Do you expect the results to be the same?
Well, let's see how the Shipoporo performs tomorrow. That will depend and will give us the projection and permutation of what should they do and what shouldn't they do at the end of the day. Remember that maybe for them it will be a different ball game, because they will be from a game and they will be traveling and be in a crucial game, which will be the final leg. Maybe Zimbabwe they have the more of the luxury side because they were from a training, but the Zambian girls will be from a game. It's serious assignment. You travel a distance, and you are going into another serious assignment that you need to finish in a good way and be able to see Ghana 2018. So it maybe for them it will be a different ball game, but they need to capitalize tomorrow's game. That's a starting point. They need to capitalize tomorrow's game so that they minimize the disadvantages of them being traveling by road to Zimbabwe, and face these consequences of traveling. So I think they need to capitalize tomorrow's game for their playing at home and be able to produce a good scoreline or a positive result, a good scoreline, and be able to go to Zimbabwe and defend the lead.
Your predictions?
Well, they have been in camp for 2 months or so now, and I'm confident that Bruce Mwape has made a very good observation and understanding of these players, and he will be able to to give them the tactics that they will understand and they will execute to produce a positive result. I expect Zambia to qualify to Ghana 2018.
The other day we had joined them in one of their training sessions just to observe the fitness levels of the ladies, and of course what you're seeing on your screen. Those are the ladies that will be taking on Zimbabwe this Wednesday, and 4 days later they will be traveling to Zimbabwe for the second leg of the Ghana 2018 qualifying matches. So what stands between Zimbabwe and Ghana is Zambia. What stands between Zambia and Ghana 2018 Africa Cup of Nations is Zimbabwe. Okay, so we are two good neighbors who understand each other, who know each other's tactics where football is concerned. So I project a highly competitive match between the two sides, and I believe that only the best team will be able to win by the end of the day. The team that will be able to dominate the mid, and of course with a sharp striking force, that is the team that I project to see winning possibly both legs as well, and perhaps qualify to the Africa Cup of Nations in Ghana later on this year. Still watching Around Sports. Our last item on the table today is Zambia taking on Madagascar. Zambia drew Namibia 0-0 90 minutes, then later on managed to take advantage of the poor penalty shooting by Namibia, and of course win the game. Now that is water under the bridge. We've got Madagascar, who surprisingly beat the host nations of South Africa by the same margin, 4-3. South Africa failing to convert 2 penalties and Madagascar only failing to convert just 1.
It's they for the Zambian side, they managed, to give themselves a boost, going into this game. It's always difficult to just go into the game at the quarterfinal level. I remember, when Zambia hosted the COSAFA, we were looking at how the team that joins at a later stage is disadvantaged than the other team that has been in the tournament from the group stage. You are looking at the other team is already in the mood of the tournament, and you have just joined up. Now for you to just to pick up, to rise to the occasion, it's always what is difficult with these teams that are highly ranked in the southern region to perform at the quarterfinal level. We can give examples. Zimbabwe is one of them. South Africa is also is a victim. Look at Zimbabwe. I'll start by looking at Zimbabwe. Look at Zimbabwe's experienced squad. How experienced the squad was. The likes of Tena Chawapiwa, the likes of Ivan Serusike, the likes of Bekama Beriat, they were all there. The Big George in the goal, they were all there. But it's because of the tempo at which they found the tournament. It's always difficult for you to just to rise to the occasion. Had it not for the experience that Zimbabwe had, I'm pretty sure that they would have suffered the same blow that South Africa received from Madagascar. We can talk about the same from the Zambian side. We do have the experience of it, even the one in the Gomite, Tostan Savat. At the moment, his experience as one would want him to be. He's an international player. The likes of Zia Tembo, the likes of Kretas Chama, they do possess the experience that you could demolish any given team at the given time. But because of the consequences of the challenges, the challenges of joining the tournament at a later stage is always what becomes difficult for these teams to rise to the occasion. But thank God they managed to start a game and be able to go to the next stage, not in the plates final, not into the main final. Because someone would say, okay, it's okay, even South Africa after being put down by Madagascar, they are going into the plates final. No, we are talking of the main tournament, the main trophy here. So I think going into the Madagascar game, I expect the different, the approach from from Zambia. They need to be, hungry going forward. They need to be able to complete at least 4-5 touches.
Well, it's not only Zambia that really portrayed a very poor finishing, because out of all teams that competed in the quarterfinals, we only had one that won during the normal regulation time, and that was Lesotho. And they only managed to get 1 goal. Otherwise, the rest of the games ended in a new state of affairs. So now, it's worrying me in terms of what future strikers we're raising here in the Southern Hemisphere, if at all we can fail to score in such a particular tournament, especially when we are playing teams that don't even have a very noble mark on a continental level. Look at Madagascar. Look at the last time they qualified
They are
to the
ranked
African Cup of
170,
Nations.
172.
Exactly. How do you fail to score against Madagascar? How do you fail to score against Botswana and stuff like that? And we're talking about a team that had experienced players, a team that is actually the defending champion. So now I'm thinking, all these teams that failed to score, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Madagascar, Botswana, name them.
Namibia.
All these teams that failed to score, what kind of strikers are we raising?
we can, when you look at Botswana currently are the, to the top scorers of the tournament, with 9 goals, with players from the same team as topping the chart, and for them, going into the game against Zimbabwe, I think it was they looked at the experience that Zimbabwe brought into the game, and they were trying to manage to manage the game, to make sure that you don't allow too much spaces. You attack more, you leave spaces. Zimbabwe had fast players and intelligent ones for that matter, and they were trying to contain that pressure, and they had luck that they had to exit into the penalty shootouts. South Africa, is in the same vein with Zambia. Whenever we our southern region, we organize the tournament as COSAFA. South Africa and Zambia, they tend to take players that do not feature regular in the main. Others, in that tournament, it's usually their debutant, their debut, call up for them to play at national level. So we always suffer the consequences of inexperience in these players that we call them, because it's as much as they are good at club level, and look to say, okay, had given the chance these players as well, they can represent Mother Zambia, and they always call them at the COSAFA level, and the pressure that comes into the national duty is what usually fails the players who are called to represent their nations.
The question is, what kind of players are supposed to play COSAFA? Is it open to everyone?
COSAFA is open to everyone. That's the reason why. I'll give you an example. That's the reason why Zimbabwe they had even to call the likes of Evans Rusuke, who is playing in the PSL league. Kamabiliat, who is playing at Mamelodi Sundowns. We know who Mamelodi Sundowns is at Club Continental games. George Chikova, they are all playing in the PSL league. COSAFA is for everyone. It's not restricted to who you should go, who you should call, and who you shouldn't call. It's not for the locals only. Or the tournament for the locals is just CHAN. So the idea of calling on the locals or on those who do not see the places in the national duty is for the FA and the coaches who manages these squads. It has nothing to do with the COSAFA rules.
Okay, so now we get to this Wednesday's game. How do you expect this game to turn out, Zambia, Madagascar?
I expect a high-spirited Zambia. Having been in the tournament, they have played the first game, so I expect them going into into tomorrow's game. They'll go into the game with everything they have. They know what is at stake. From this level, they need to go and play the final. Otherwise, they are doomed. So I expect them, to show us what they are made of.
Zambia will be taking on Madagascar, and Zimbabwe will be taking on Lesotho. So the first quarterfinal will be played at exactly 17 Zambian time, and Zambia happened to be the first team to play. Then later on, Zimbabwe will take on Lesotho. So by the end of this Wednesday, we should be able to know who will be in the finals of this year's COSAFA Senior Challenge. That does it for today, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back on Thursday, rather, as we come to look at the previews of the 2 games that will be played this Wednesday, both the ladies and of course the men's side, and of course reflect on the fixtures for the coming weekend. Thank you so much for your time. We'll be back on Thursday.